you're supposed to be the ones who can influence Israel to do what is right. And you can't. You're toothless.
If I could please just interrupt for 1 second, I have to disagree with you there that we're not interested in a viable Palestinian state.
But we believe that if we will be negotiating alone with Israelis, there will be no outcome. And I believe the United States of America has a very important role in order to persuade Israel to put a clear timetable for these negotiations with a clear basis that those negotiations should be based in which things, I mean, that where we are going to build this viable Palestinian state while the Israelis annexing land day after day, building a lot of settlements, installing a lot of extremist Israeli Jews on the territory where the Palestinians believe it's their forthcoming homeland. It is so difficult for the Palestinians when they have their only small roads, narrow roads, and huge roads built by the Israelis for the settlers who are living on the West Bank territory. I believe that if the Israeli government will continue building the settlements, continue annexing the Palestinian territory, continue applying this policy against the Palestinians, it will be very difficult. We are very clear. We are supporting the idea of the American friends that we need to have a two-state solution, but we have also to mention very clearly to the world that the negotiation with the Israelis shall not continue for the whole life of the Palestinians while the Israelis putting facts on ground by building settlements and Judaizing the city of Jerusalem. We believe that the international community, especially the Quartet, should be very clear in putting a timetable for this negotiation and also putting a clear foundation in which basis this negotiation should continue. The idea of applying for a membership of the United Nations is an important step forward in order to convince the Israelis that the forthcoming negotiation between them and the Palestinians is between two states. The Palestinian territories, which was being occupied in 1966, is considered, according to the international law, is an occupied territory. The United Nations Security Council Resolution 242 was very clear in its French text, saying that the Israelis should withdraw from all territories which they occupied in 1967. We believe that we have no other choice but to live together with the Israelis in the holy land of historical Palestine. But we need to live with dignity. We need to live in equal footing. We don't like to be considered as a second citizenship of this holy part of this world.
I think we should be clear that, and I don't think that I am not a Palestinian myself, but I'm pretty sure that I know that Palestinians will not accept a future Palestine to look like a Swiss cheese, a sort of a conglomeration of Bantustans. That is not on the table. That is not acceptable. The most classic talks ever conducted on this issue were the Oslo Accords, the Oslo Peace Accords from 1993. And as a result of them, Israel was to pull back from occupied areas. Did it? Of course it didn't. And since then, not only that, the settlements have tripled up until the current day. There were about 100 or so thousand of them at that time, between 100 and a couple of 100,000. There are now 500,000 settlers in occupied Palestine. Israel is occupying a country. Israel is an occupier. It is flouting international law. It's flouting countless UN resolutions and has done so for decades. It is also contravening the Fourth Geneva Convention, which states quite clearly that a country occupying another does not transfer a population to that occupied area, and it takes care of those that it is occupying. It is doing none of those things. The reverse is the case.
Let me comment a little bit. In the point of view of humanitarian.
Let me just add something, please.
Okay.
Let me just add something concerning the settlers. Unfortunately, all those settlers whom they are living in the West Bank, most of them are extremist Israeli Jews who are always voting for the extremist political party in Israel. By expanding the settlement and bringing all those Jews, it is an obstacle toward reaching a comprehensive, peaceful settlement in Palestine, because those settlers believe that the right-wing political parties is there represented in the Israeli political system.
I'd like to make some comments,
Yes,
according to what the representative from US said, about the direct negotiation. I don't see how can it work, because, when two hands of Palestinians have been tied, and while on the other hand, Israeli can do anything they want, so if we believe that United Nations can solve a problem, in which it's the main principle, why don't we use United Nations organization to solve this problem? I really, I put my wholehearted to feel sympathize to those Jews who have been suffering during the Second World War under Nazi regime. But it doesn't give the right to the present Israel to do anything, the same thing to the innocent people in Palestine.
There is a new Holocaust going on right now in the Middle East. That is what it amounts to. I'd like to latch on to something that Sadi said. He broached the matter of security there, because we get this thrown in our faces, those of us who defend Palestine and who want to correct the injustices being done to the Palestinians. We get this word security thrown at us all the time. Israel security. Which it denotes also how the culprit, the oppressor, we always have to take into consideration and show consideration for the oppressor, the culprit, i.e. Israel, never the victims when it comes to America's stance. The victims are the Palestinians. We should not forget that. And when we talk about security, he talked about these extreme settlers. Exactly as he says, the settlers are incredibly fundamentalist extremists. We hear all the time about Muslim fundamentalists and extremists. But my goodness, this is nothing compared to the views and the attitudes of the settlers. And I think that when Israel talks about its security, it has to deal with its internal security first, i.e. with the settlers, that it is promoting and encouraging right now.
And going along with what you said, Jen, are you still with us?
Yes, I'm still here.
Okay, now Egypt has voiced strongly that Israel, the only democratic state in the region up until now, has wasted their opportunities in the past to work with the Palestinians through a democratic mechanism. Now, to resolve the issue, with the recent resurgence in Arab country, the so-called Arab Spring, Arab confidence to create change, are you concerned about the potential for negative repercussion of if Palestine is not recognized statehood because of the veto?
Right. Listen, we understand that frustrations are high and the tensions are high. But we still believe that there is no way to shortcut past the process of direct negotiations. We think we support the democratic aspirations of the Palestinians as we've supported the democratic aspirations of the Egyptians, the Tunisians, the Libyans, the Syrians, the Yemenis. This is one of our fundamental principles, and I think that we have been working closely with the Palestinian Authority for many years now in trying to support their democratic aspirations. We know this is a difficult time. We know this is a difficult process. And we accept that it may not be, that parts of what we're saying are not popular. However, we're frankly more concerned about what the region will look like if we don't keep moving forward towards the peace, towards this two-state solution, than if we were to sit back quietly and just observe what was happening. Our desire is to work within the international community with the members of the quartet to try to help find ways out of this impasse, to try to move forward and get back to the negotiations table. As you may know, the quartet released a statement on the 23rd offering, among other things, a timetable for moving forward on negotiations. I think we we can't give up. We can't step back. We can't say this is too difficult, this is too hard, the stakes are too high. As a matter of fact, the fact that the stakes are too high, the fact that the issues, as my colleagues have demonstrated with some of the things that they were just raising, the fact that these issues are so complicated and so important and are so thorny, they just really, they underpin the need to move back to negotiations and the need for both parties to make some difficult decisions, to take a really hard look, and to seriously move forward on negotiations. These are really difficult issues, and there's no easy way to go about resolving them. But that doesn't mean that we should shy from trying to do so.
Again, you see, it is just words, and if the U.S. is really serious and they really mean these beautiful words, there's real meaning behind them, that they want to see a Palestinian state, then why not take the opportunity now and vote for it at the UN? That's where it can be determined. Why do they, at the end of the day, really not want to do that? There is another agenda. I think we saw that at the UN debate last week as well, and when we saw Obama talking, and then we saw Netanyahu. The script was the same when it came to Palestine, Israel-Palestine. Exactly the same script. And this is another problem for the US, you see. And even the quartet to a certain extent. Okay, Russia and the UN are there, but it's the EU who are the lapdogs of America. They do basically everything America tells them to do or expects them to do. And it's America. It's, again, toothless. It's a completely toothless operation. And Tony Blair, who's their envoy, is not only perceived but is pro-Israel, and none of these people are honest brokers. And why should the Palestinians respect or listen and accept the negotiation, any negotiations with those people? Because they are biased from the beginning. They have an agenda set at the end of the day by their masters, Israel. And I use that word masters very carefully. Once upon a time we thought it was the dog, the US, wagging the tail, Israel. Now it seems to be very much that the tail, Israel, is wagging the dog, the US.
Sadia, you're
So
still
if I can, I'd like to just ask a question. With the day after a vote in the UN, where do we stand? How, is there a viable independent Palestinian state that's living in peace with Israel? On a practical level, on a sort of logistical, fundamental level, what has been accomplished the day after the vote?
And this question goes to
all of this time and all of this energy, rather than being devoted towards direct negotiations, towards direct conversations, is diverted towards the vote. But then the day after the vote, have we moved any further towards reaching an everlasting peace?
Sadi, you have comment on that?
It's very important. It's a very important question, I think. I believe the day after the vote, when Palestine will be recognized as a state, it is very important. The Israeli has to realize that Palestine is no more a disputed area or territory between the Palestinian and the Israeli, because the international community has recognized Palestine as a state within 1967 border. And we will be entitled to be a member of those UN agencies worldwide, and will be considered by the international community that we have to be in equal footing when we negotiate with any person who interested in the Palestinian issue. We believe peaceful negotiation. We believe that when Palestine became a state, it's not the end of the game. We have to continue to negotiate with the Israelis, but we are going to negotiate with them when a new mechanism, a new formula, which is based on the clear reality that Palestine is widely recognized by other states in this world. I believe the time has come. The time has come for the Palestinians to live in peace and stability and to have their own state. We have been waiting for quite a long time, and the international community has shown its solidarity and sympathy with us. It is very clear. And those who oppose the aspiration of the Palestinians to have their own independent state will remain standing on their own side of the history.
Thank you, Sadi.
Israel attacked innocent Palestinians, slaughtered more than 13,000 throughout 800,000 from Palestine, destroyed 400 to 500 Palestinian villages, wiped them off the map, and thereby put under their control another 23%